Hey guys, so it's been really heartwarming having you follow along on our Algonquin Park trips, and we've also been getting a lot of questions from you guys about how to canoe camp in Algonquin Park, what kinds of things we bring, what gear we pack, what food we pack as well, and so we thought we would sit down and put together a comprehensive video of how to canoe camp in Algonquin Park for you guys. So I hope you enjoy it.
So you might have noticed that in some of the shots in this video from our past trips, we're not wearing our life jackets. And that's kind of a big no-no. We used to always rationalize it, saying that we're really, really good swimmers and we'd be okay. But then we learned that drownings do actually occur in parks and life jackets do actually save lives. So we're gonna start wearing our life jackets from now on, not only to protect our safety, but also because we want to set a good example for everyone watching our videos, especially the kids. So, wear your life jackets.
It's also worth mentioning that there's a lot of nuance to canoe camping in Algonquin Park, and we can't cover every single little detail, or else this would just become like a super long video. So it's going to be more of a general overview. And if there's anything that we missed, or you have any thoughts, ideas, tips, tricks, suggestions of your own for canoe camping in the park, please leave them below, and hopefully we can turn the comment section of this video into a complete treasure trove of additional information, tips, and great advice for people looking for how to camp in the park. So yeah, leave your comments below. And we should clarify that this is actually more of a backcountry interior camping trip guide for canoe camping, and it's not so much a car camping guide. So backcountry camping in Algonquin Park.
So we're also going to include a sample meal plan, our packing list, which has been perfected over the years, and a bunch of helpful links in the description below.
And we've also included this handy index of time codes, just so that you can jump ahead to a specific section if you're looking for detailed information about a particular topic.
There's no wrong way to go camping in Algonquin Park. This is just the way that we like to do it, but everyone does it differently. So I love canoe camping. It's probably my favorite vacation of ours every year, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to go on an affordable vacation, reconnect with the outdoors, build confidence. Like, honestly, we've gone on some tropical vacations, and I was thinking, like, oh, I'd rather be in Algonquin Park right now.
Just a wonderful way to bond with friends and family, or just to like be out on your own and develop that confidence in the wilderness. It's a fantastic experience.
It's very therapeutic.
Very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Nature is what human beings resonate with, and reconnecting with that is incredibly powerful. Yeah, get out there. Go camping. Camping! So one of the first things you want to do when you're sitting down to pre-plan for your trip is decide when to go camping. The ice is typically out by the end of April, and then you can start camping in early May. But the bugs get really bad around June and July. So typically what happens is we like to go for an early trip in May. The bugs are then there in the middle of the summer, and then we'll come back sometime in August or September for a beautiful late summer trip when the swimming is amazing and the bugs are pretty much all gone by then. So yeah, those are the two great times to go.
So Algonquin Park is a very popular place to camp. If you're looking to have a quieter experience, we would recommend going to a more remote area of the park. Like the north end of the park is definitely a lot quieter. Or going in the middle of the week, or going in May.
Nice.
Or June or July, technically.
So typically the weekends, and especially the holiday weekends during the summer, are a lot busier in the park. So if you're looking for a quieter experience overall, we recommend our cat.
We do not recommend bringing Finnegan on the trip.
Yeah,
because he is loud. He's always meowing all the time.
But yeah, if you want a quieter experience overall, we highly recommend going sometime during the week Or maybe if you want to go on a longer trip, maybe you just want to start a day or two ahead before the weekend, and then that way you beat the crowds in, and then maybe stay a little bit past the weekend and come out when it's going to be quieter as well. But yeah, you can avoid that weekend rush if you want to have a quieter experience.
The only way to ensure that you do not have a quiet experience is going on the August long weekend. Don't do it. Moving right along.
So the next thing you want to decide is where you're going to camp in the park, and for that you're going to want to start with a map of the park. What we recommend starting out with is a map called Jeff's Map, and what it is a free online PDF map of the park that you can look at online or print out on your own. You can put it on your smartphone or you can put it on your tablet. Either way, it's a really good place to start with a lot of additional detailed information about the park. Another place that you can get maps are from some of the stores around the peripheral of the park or some of the stores in the park.
Get a map. There are different maps. There's one called Jeff's Map. There's another one put out by Friends of Algonquin Park. You can buy these maps at outdoor stores or at the locations where you're starting to camp, or find them online.
Yeah.
Maps.
We actually sort of recommend carrying more than one with you in the sense that some of them have different kinds of information on them. And it's also nice to have a backup in case you lose one.
Hashtag trip with my dad.
Yeah. The other thing is if you have a paper map, you might want to have Jeff's map as a backup on your smartphone or your tablet that you might be taking in the park. Even though you're not going to have cell phone coverage in the park, there are apps that allow you to open up Jeff's map on your phone, and the GPS usually still works in the park. But again, you won't have cell phone coverage. But Jeff's map can serve as a nice backup in case you lose your paper map.
Everywhere in the park is beautiful, but we do have some favorite spots. Some of our favorites are in the south end of the park, so Lake Louisa and Phipps Lake, which is like a really small lake, but it's really pretty. Going north of Canoe Lake, Big Trout is a crowd pleaser. And kind of northeast of that is Lac Le Mure, which we fell in love with. And then in the east end of the park, the Barron Canyon route is really spectacular, and is also a good route for beginners because the portages tend to be pretty short.
Yeah.
We'll have to go there again and do a video.
Yeah. So when it comes to route selection, it's actually one of the most difficult things to gauge as a beginner because you won't fully know how proficient you are at paddling, or whether or not you're going to be able to do 1 or 2 trip portages, or how proficient you're going to be at navigating, or even how windy it's going to be out there. So what we really recommend doing is starting off small. So maybe only going 1 or 2 lakes in on your first day, and then gradually getting an idea over the course of a number of different trips to sort of get a better sense of how much distance you can cover per trip or per day before you really jump in and go a giant long distance in the park. So start small.
Bro, do you remember how when our first camping trip, and you're like, so what's the longest distance you've ever covered in one day? And I was like, probably today. But like, I knew that you had experienced like rowing and being in a boat, and you were strong, but it would have taken you a lot longer had you not been with someone who kind of knew camping.
Yeah, that's true. And I should mention that I had like a little bit of paddling experience in that regard. I had a lot of rowing experience, some paddling experience, so I wasn't a complete novice. And I had Julia, who is a pro star, excellent camper, to guide me. So we were able to make a fair amount of ground. But again, if you're a complete novice and you're going to be out there spinning in circles in your canoe, maybe start really, really small, just so that you're not biting off more than you can chew, or possibly getting into a dangerous situation where you can't make it to your campsite because the weather might be bad. So
what we would recommend is if it's your very first trip and you don't have a lot of experience, kind of book shorter days. And you know, if you get to your campsite early, you can have lots of time to go swimming or hang out. And don't try to copy us because we plan ridiculously long days. It is not uncommon for us to like put in our information into the online reservation site and have it come up as like a pop-up warning of that day is too long. Are you sure you want to book that? If you get one of those warnings and you're not an experienced camper, change your route.
So for a really good example of a shorter day or a much more manageable day for somebody who's just getting started out, we highly recommend looking at day 1 from our last trip series in Algonquin Park, which was along a classic route in Algonquin Park. Day 1 took us from Canoe Lake up to Joe Lake, so we really just went one portage into the park, but it was a much shorter day for us because we were actually getting started later in the day. And for a good example of a really long day, even for experienced paddlers like us who are used to covering a lot of distance on a day usually, day 2 from that same series, which is called On a Mission, is a very good example of a much longer distance, even for us, that we had a little bit of trouble making up that day. And as you can see when you watch the video, we rolled into camp a little bit later than we would normally want to. But
at sunset.
But yeah, those 2 videos are really great examples of a really short day and a really long day.
Keep in mind that you're booking the lake, but you're not booking a specific campsite. So there might be anywhere from 2 to 15 campsites on one lake. So it is nice to get to the lake early enough that you, one, have your pick of the campsites and can pick a good one. Because there are really, really nice campsites and there are kind of, I guess we'll stay here campsites. And it's also nice to get there early and have your pick so that you're not having to canoe all around the lake to just find that one last campsite that's still open.
So when choosing your route, it's also important to know that there are 34 different access points around the entire park. So because you might be renting gear, you might be renting your canoe, your paddles, other equipment, it's important to note that if you are going to go to a more remote access point, you might want to choose an access point that's closer to some of that equipment.
He's so pointy.
So we recommend starting out with just a 2 to 3 day trip in Algonquin Park.
I disagree with this. You cannot go camping in just 2 days. That's a whole lot of travel time and organization for just like going somewhere to sleep overnight and coming back out. You won't get ensconced in the experience.
That's a good point.
I recommend starting out with a 3 to 4 day trip.
Yeah, I do like that word ensconced. So yeah,
you can convince Chris to do anything if you use the word ensconced.
Yeah, so I think Julie is right. I mean, like if you can barely manage anything, 2 days is okay, but we highly recommend trying to go for 3 days, and that way...
Or 4.
Or 4. That way you sort of have a day of trekking in, you might have another day of trekking, or a shorter day after that, or maybe even a rest day or 2 once you're in the park, just so you can sort of absorb the experience, feel like you're in the park, and then a day trekking out of the park afterwards.
All right, so when you're finally ready to book your trip, you're going to either go online or call in to Algonquin Park to book your sites. You also need to make sure to book your equipment. And then when you're coming in, you're going to want to make sure that, number one, you know where you actually pick up your permit. Sometimes it's at the access point, but sometimes it's like in a little town kind of before you drive down this long road to the access point. So make sure that you know ahead of time so that you don't have to backtrack. And also, make sure you know where you're picking up your equipment.
Similarly to campsites on lakes, equipment rentals at some of the outfitters can also book up pretty quickly. So if you're going around a busy weekend, just be really sure to book your equipment rentals ahead of time. So the next important thing to consider is what gear you're going to bring along with you on the trip. And we should preface this by saying that you do not need to have all the latest and greatest gear to have a great experience in the park. We've had great experiences in the park with less than optimal equipment sometimes and still had a blast. So don't worry about trying to afford like the best.
Yes, as my grandfather would say, oh, I used to go out into the woods and I didn't have a tent or a sleeping bag or a sleeping mat. We would just sleep on the rock under the stars. It was beautiful.
Did your grandfather actually say that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's hardcore.
The other thing about gear is that if you want to buy kind of all the gear, that's going to be a lot of money. Like tents are expensive, packs are expensive, even sleeping mats are pretty expensive. So if you're going out for the first time and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm even going to like this. I don't want to drop $1,000 on a bunch of equipment before I go. Luckily, a lot of the outfitters will actually like have absolutely everything you need other than clothing. So you can always just rent all of your equipment the first time, and then once you discover that you absolutely love camping and can't live without it, then invest in some of the gear.
Yeah, and we should mention that people come to camp in Algonquin Park from all around the world. So if you're coming from a different country and you can't bring a lot of this stuff with you, you can go to a great outfitter like Algonquin Outfitters, where they can stock you up with everything from your food to your canoe, to your camping equipment, to things like your food barrel and your tent and your sleeping bag.
Mm-hmm.
They can set you up with everything.
Yeah, I forgot about the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do all of your food for you.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want great gear and you don't want to spend a lot of money, start camping with your dad when you're a teenager. Then your dad will buy a bunch of nice camping equipment. Then move out of the house and start camping with someone else, and then just take all that camping equipment that your dad bought and borrow it indefinitely.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Dad. So here's our gear checklist. It has been refined and expanded over the years. And here's what it looks like all laid out on the floor.
So this is all of our camping gear. It's got everything that we would bring into the park other than, of course, our canoe, Chris's camera gear, and we haven't packed our actual food or clothing yet. But other than that, this is it. So let me take you on a tour. First, we have these beautiful wooden paddles. We have, of course, sleeping bags. We've got these really nice Thermarest sleeping mats. We have our waterproof compression clothing bags. We have our life jackets, which we admit we need to wear more in the park. We have this handy dandy thing, which is actually a shoulder pad for the yoke of your canoe for portaging. Highly recommend it. Makes a world of difference. We have our food barrel, which is a great way to, number one, keep your food safe from bears, but also it's a great way to pack really kind of pointy things that you don't want jabbing into your back while you're carrying it along. We also have this big blue pack, which we tend to pack inside. We pack our sleeping bags, our clothing, maybe like a book or something. And then on the outside, we strap on our sleeping mats, our tent, and our tarp, and usually a whole lot of camera equipment. Our tent is over here as well. It is remarkably small and light for a two-person tent, which is great. And then on to kind of this little stuff. We have our essential, non-essential hammock. We love bringing this into the park. Even though you technically don't need a hammock, it's just a lovely way to end the day. We have our water filter system and our Nalgene water bottles. These are great because they're like very, very durable. We've had them for years and years and years. I've only needed to replace the caps a couple times. We do have Chris's cell phone here. You don't get cell reception in the park, but we usually bring it in just to, to keep track of time if we need to. A good tip for phones in the park: make sure you put it on airplane mode, otherwise your battery is going to drain really, really quickly because it's going to constantly be looking around for a signal that isn't there. I know I've left my phone pretty much off in the park and then come out and it's just been completely dead. What else do we have here? We have a couple of dry bags for Chris's camera equipment, but that can be good for anything that you want to keep dry. We have our toilet paper bag. I do recommend putting your toilet paper in an actual plastic bag because wet toilet paper, it just really is non-functional. And we always carry a little hand sanitizer in with that. We also have our map, which we tend to kind of refold so that you have your full day viewable to you. And we put it again in a plastic bag to keep it nice and safe from the water. They do sell like fancy pantsy map bags, but a Ziploc bag will do just fine. And we'll usually bring along an extra map, and we've got a compass here too, just in case. We've got some safety stuff over here. Bear spray. We've got our first aid kit. A PLB, so a personal location beacon. Some just kind of repair stuff, some super glue, some extra buckles, some extra bags for waterproofing our gear. We sometimes bring some fire starters if needed. We've got our headlamps for at night. Very handy to have headlamps. We've got our camping stove here. And we have all of the stuff we use for cooking. So pots, plates, cutlery, cups, and that all fits in together really, really nicely. So it packs up really small. We also have a frying pan, and lately we've been bringing a little mini cutting board and a big wooden spoon just to make cooking a bit easier. Some extra batteries. This is a hilariously small sunscreen. We actually need to buy a full-size sunscreen before our next trip. Got some bug spray, along with some Skin So Soft, which apparently is good for black flies. We got some dry bags. We always bring along some camp suds and a J-cloth for dishes, as well as the camp suds can be used on yourself for shampoo, conditioner, soap. What else do we have here? Oh yes, and for cutting up wood for a fire, we've got a little hatchet and a little saw, and we actually have a brand new saw that we're going to try out this year, thanks to a very generous viewer, Ken. And then finally, just some good old-fashioned rope. This can be used for hanging the food barrel at night, or various other type of ropey things. And then smaller rope is great for things like a clothesline or hanging up the tarp. So that's it in a nutshell. And now I kind of just want to talk about a few of my favorite items in a bit more detail. One of which is the Canadian water pump. It is a great, easy, portable, reliable way to get clean water in the middle of the park. The water in the park could potentially have giardia in it, so you want to make sure that that gets filtered out. And this way, you basically just pop one end into your lake and one end into your water bottle, and then pump, and then you're ready to go. We like it better than other methods because you don't have to wait the 20 or 30 minutes that you would normally have to wait when you use water purification tablets. You don't have to, wait for 10 minutes for your water to boil. And you also don't have to lug in a bunch of bottled water with you, which when you're doing trips like the ones that we do would be pretty much impossible. So the next piece of equipment I'd like to talk about is our Thermarest sleeping mats. These help you not only stay comfortable at night, but also help you stay warm at night. They are a bit pricier, but I would say if you're going to be camping routinely, I'd recommend getting them because they will last you for a very, very long time. One thing that I want to mention is unless you're like really, really trying to cut down the weight, get the thicker one. You see here, this is the thinner one, this is the thicker one. They're both incredibly lightweight, and they both pack up to similar sizes, but the thicker one is significantly more comfortable. So I would go with this one over this one. All right. So even though you can't get cell phone reception in the park with a smartphone, you could bring your smartphone in as a timekeeping device, or there's also a really helpful app called Avenza Maps, and that will allow you to look at Jeff's map offline, but you're still able to use your phone's GPS to show you where you are on that map at that present time. So that can be really helpful for navigation. You can, use that as your backup map, or even use that kind of like a compass. The one really important thing though to remember with your phone in the park is that because there's no cell phone reception, unless you turn your phone onto airplane mode, it's going to be constantly seeking a signal and it's going to run out of batteries really quick. So whenever you're not using it, I would recommend putting it into airplane mode. All right, so this is our personal location beacon, our PLB. This is a super duper safety device. What you do is you register it with search and rescue before your trip or when you buy it. And then if you are in like a life-threatening emergency, say you're out in the wilderness on your own and there was a lightning storm and a tree fell on your legs and you can't get out and you're gonna die, you would pull the top off this, antennas come out, a signal is sent to search and rescue within like 10 minutes, and then they come and help you. It's free of charge as long as it's actually an emergency. But if you're going somewhere more remote, this would be really key. We also really like our MSR camping stove. It's been really, really reliable over the years, and we like that it packs up really small, and it's very lightweight. We use it on days when either it's really rainy and we can't get a campfire going, or if we just want to boil a bunch of water. It is really, really hot, so it boils water really fast, even faster than when we try to boil water at home. So yeah, it works really well. It takes a little bit of getting used to at first. There's a bit of a finesse to getting it going, but once it's going, it's like, it's great. So a surprisingly low-tech, low-price, super useful thing to have in the park is plastic garbage bags. We use plastic garbage bags to waterproof a lot of our stuff. So we waterproof our sleeping bags and our sleeping mats with plastic garbage bags. We also always bring along a couple of extra in case you get a hole in the waterproofing bag. Or you'll see in some of our videos, if it's really, really raining, you can use one as an extra like rain jacket or rain skirt. I know some people who, if there isn't any rain expected on their trip, they just won't bring a rain jacket at all. They'll just bring a garbage bag just in case. So yeah, these are handy dandy things. We love our wooden paddles. When I first started camping, I would always rent paddles with the canoe, and you get those kind of whitewater, metallic, plasticky paddles, which are very, very durable, but they're also a lot heavier and they're less efficient because they tend to be wider, whereas these ones go deeper into the water, where the water is more dense and you get a more efficient stroke. And the wooden ones also are a lot warmer on your hands on cool mornings or rainy days. And they also just look really badass in like a naturey kind of natural wood way. So wood paddles actually aren't that expensive, so I would recommend that if you're doing a lot of tripping to buy a couple. So I want to talk about our shoulder pad. This thing will make a world of difference for your portages. All you do is you strap it to the yoke of your canoe, and then when the canoe's on top of you, you have this nice comfortable shoulder pad. Makes a world of difference. And the thing is, like, I think it was less than $10, so it's really a no-brainer. The other thing that you can do to make portaging more comfortable under a canoe is making sure that the canoe is balanced. So as if you would let go and it would almost just stay steady on your shoulders. If you have it too much stuff in the front, or if it's just naturally falling to the front, you're gonna spend the entire time pushing up with your arms and you're gonna exhaust yourself. And again, if you have too much stuff at the back, you're gonna spend the whole time pulling it down. Whereas if you get it just right, you can almost have one arm holding the canoe, another arm with some paddles, and you just breeze right through. The way that we do it is we will put a life jacket usually at the back and at the front. That seems to work pretty well for us for balance. But if it was way off balance, you could put 2 life jackets at the back or some rope or anything like that.
With food, obviously you have to plan everything out ahead of time. In your planning, make sure that you are bringing kind of more food than you would normally eat, because you are going to be burning a lot of calories, and especially bring lots of snacks. Actually, a friend of mine went camping and one of the girls brought like those like noodle cup, like those cup of noodle things for their lunches, and everyone got like 1 cup of noodles, which is like basically like powdered flavor, and then you add water.
Oh, that's not very much at all.
No, and then they were all starving. And she's like, I don't understand. This is what I normally eat for lunch. And it's like, no, you need calories. So the first few days of the trip, you'll be able to get away with eating some perishable foods, like sausages over the campfire, for example. And then closer to the end of the trip, you're going to want to stick with either kind of dehydrated foods. You can get these prepackaged. We have some that we really like Pad Thai. What brand is that?
Oh, Backpackers Pantry.
Backpackers Pantry Pad Thai is delicious.
It's the best.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Or you can bring other foods that are preferably lightweight and easy to cook. So like lentils or couscous are good examples of those things.
Pasta.
Even pasta, yeah.
Pasta, yeah.
And for things like fruits and vegetables, again, beginning of the trip, you can have apples and stuff like that. Actually, apples will last for a very long time. Then closer to the end of the trip, you can rely more on like gorp or trail mix. So here's an example of a meal plan we've made for a 7-day trip, which will be coming soon.
One thing that we get a lot of questions about on our trips is how we're able to get bacon into the park and eat it on like day 3, 4, or 5 of the trip. And what we do is we actually get the microwavable ready crisp bacon that's actually on the store shelves at room temperature, and it'll actually keep until it's opened up. So you're able to trek it into the park and enjoy it later on in the park. Mm-hmm. And then once it's open, it usually keeps for maybe like a day or 2.
We've also had a lot of questions about how we eat hash browns so late into our trips. And that's really just sketchy. Like, they're frozen hash browns. By like the second day, they're thawed. And then they start to go moldy. Do you remember that day that we're like, it's hash brown day? And we got them out and there were like chunks of little mold. And we're like, picking out the chunks and eating the rest of them.
Yeah,
don't do that.
So now that you've got your route booked, you've got your equipment reserved, you got your meals all planned, it's now time to pack up the night before.
So before heading into the park, it's always a good idea to let friends and family know where you're going to be going. You'll get an email with your itinerary when you reserve, so you can just forward that on. And just so you know, the vast majority of the park, even some of the access points, do not have cell phone coverage. So don't rely on being able to use your cell phone in the park.
So on your way into the park, you'll pick up your park permit at the permit place, or you've checked ahead of time, hopefully, because each access point has a different spot to pick up your permit. So again, make sure you've checked that before you go into the park. The other thing that's important to remember is that you are responsible for making sure you know all the rules and regulations before you go into the park, and you're aware of those things before you go backcountry camping. The other thing that's really important is you need to know whether or not there are any fire bans in effect.
Some common rules are you can't bring glass into the park
Or cans.
And that's just because people, it's really terrible, one, if there's broken glass in the park, because that's really difficult to clean up and really dangerous. And two, there's nothing worse than coming to a campsite and seeing like a bunch of beer cans in the fire pit. That's just awful. You have to bring out all of your garbage, which is pretty obvious.
So we also recommend taking a photo of the weather that's posted at the permit office, or possibly writing down what the weather is going to be over the course of your trip, just because by day 3 or 4 you sort of start to forget what the overnight temperatures might be like, or where the wind's going to be blowing from a particular direction. And it's just kind of comforting to know those things later on into your trip, so that if an emergency does arise or you're in a tough situation trying to make it somewhere, you do have sort of a better idea of where the wind's coming from or what the temperature is going to be like.
Or as my dad would say, if it's cold, put on an extra layer. If it's raining, put on a rain jacket. But it is like, it's a comfort to know what's coming.
Yeah. Also, when you arrive at the permit office, they will offer you a garbage bag if you want one. We recommend using the garbage bag. It's a bright yellow bag that's kind of helpful to not get lost. And you are fully responsible for trucking out all your garbage and all your waste. You are not allowed to leave anything in the park behind. So yeah, be sure to take all your garbage out with you. Do not leave it there for somebody else to find. And yeah, don't ruin somebody else's experience in the park. Also, once you've locked up your car at the access point, it's important to leave a copy of your camping permit on the dash of your car. It'll let park staff know if you haven't come out at your specified date. Every now and then, periodically, they're going to be surveying the parking lot to make sure that people came out on their specified date. And if there was an accident or there was an emergency and you didn't come out on your specified date, they would probably see that on your dashboard on the camping permit and probably go in looking for you in case something did happen.
So once you're in the park, enjoy it. It's a wonderful experience. I recommend for navigating. I actually used to be a terrible navigator. You remember this, where I'd be like, it's that way. And you'd look at the map and be like, no, it's that way, Julia. So I've learned over the years to navigate. It's really good to, look at your map often and try to pick out landmarks on your map to match that to your surroundings. So you can look for campsites, portages, points, islands.
Yeah, even the shape of the mountains will inform you on where you need to go. For instance, the portages tend to be at the lowest points of the land, so that you don't have to go on this big giant trek up into the forest. And it's also good to know that all the campsites in the park are designated by fluorescent orange signs to help you find them. And all the portages are marked with yellow signs, which also show you which lake they lead to and the distance as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you get to a portage and it doesn't check out, don't take it.
Oh yes, always check the portage sign before you start walking down it. We do not take this advice. We've gone down the wrong portage a couple of times. It's not fun.
Every now and then, yeah. At the portages, try to be respectful of everybody and try to keep your gear out of the high traffic areas just so that you're not slowing anybody else down. Try to put your gear off to the side just so that other people can make their way through.
Yeah, and if you're in a big group, I'd recommend putting all of your gear in one tight location, and then that way you don't get it mixed up with anyone else's gear. Like, it's not uncommon, especially if you're renting stuff, to have, you know, the exact same pack that someone else who's using that portage has. So if you kind of have all of your stuff sprawled out everywhere, it's really easy for someone else to grab your stuff or you to grab someone else's stuff by accident.
That's a really good point. Really good point.
Do you remember how when we were doing that other trip and we saw the girl with our exact same backpack and I got like all excited and I'm like, you have this backpack. We have this backpack. It's a great backpack. And she was like, okay.
So once you've arrived at your destination lake and you've found that really great looking campsite, it's really polite to leave your canoe somewhere that's visible from the water, just so that other campers who are trying to find their campsite don't have to paddle all the way across the lake to figure out that you've already taken that campsite. So if you leave it somewhere that's visible but still safe from the wind, that means that everybody can find their campsites easier and there's no unnecessary paddling.
So you've just arrived at your campsite. It's time to find a nice flat spot for your tent, set up your tent, collect some firewood for a nice warm fire, throw a rope for your bear hang to make sure that, you know, you're not attracting bears and the bear cannot get into your food. Maybe enjoy a nice afternoon swim if you get to your campsite early enough. And yeah, just relax and have a good time.
Yeah. And if you want a better idea of like the sequence of sort of what happens when you get to the campsite, again, feel free to watch some of our videos and you can sort of see what we typically do first. We like to set up our shelter first. But yeah, it's nice to get all those things done before it gets too dark. That way you're not sort of scuffling at the end of the night trying to get everything done before it gets dark.
Mm-hmm.
Once it gets dark, everything slows down a little bit, so you naturally want to get all those things done before you go to bed.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask where or how you go to the bathroom in the park. Each campsite has what's called, I don't know, we call it the magic box. Some people call it the thunder box. It's basically a wooden box with a hole in it and a dug hole. And it's actually nicer than an outhouse because it doesn't stink because you're out in the open. So you get to just kind of sit there and still be out in nature, enjoying the view and listening to the little bugs.
So when it comes to firewood, you are only allowed to pick up dead firewood that's already on the forest floor or tree branches that's already on the ground. You cannot cut anything down, and you wouldn't even really want to cut anything down because green wood that is fresh doesn't even really burn that well. So again, you can only use firewood that's already on the ground.
And when you say it doesn't burn that well, it doesn't burn at all.
Yeah.
Like at all.
Yeah. So
it's just stupid.
It's stupid. There's no point in cutting down a tree. You're not even allowed to. You could be fined or banned from the park if you're caught cutting down trees in a campsite. So just don't do it.
So do you remember that time that we were at that campsite? It was like this tiny little island and it had been just picked clean. There's like absolutely no wood or twigs or anything like that on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And what we ended up doing was we just went out in our boat to a non-campsite spot that was just like a few paddle strokes away. And when you get to a spot that isn't actually a campsite, there's tons and tons of wood. And we just like piled our canoe up, went back to camp. So like there's really no excuse for cutting things down. There's always a way to find wood.
Yeah. That's what she said.
That is what she said.
Again, if you sort of want a general idea of how to go about setting up your camp in the sequence that we might recommend doing it, feel free to watch some of our camping videos and you'll get a sense of how we like to do it. And we generally do it so that everything is done before it gets darker.
Do we? I hadn't noticed. I seem to believe that there is video evidence of us eating dinner in the dark on numerous occasions.
This does happen sometimes.
I even believe that there's video evidence of us canoeing in the dark one time.
Yeah, not recommended. Not recommended. Navigating at night is really, really difficult, even for experienced paddlers. So it's not a situation you want to find yourself in if you can avoid it. But yeah, try to get it all done before the sun goes down. So when it comes to putting out your fire at the end of the night, it's really important to douse the fire pit with even more water than you think it needs, just because the embers can continue burning deep underneath in the earth, and they can actually start burning along some of the tree roots, and you won't even know it's happening. So incredibly important to douse it with tons and tons of water, just so that there's no chance that there's a fire that continues to burn underneath the soil. We've actually pulled up at campsites that we saw people just leaving from, where they barely put out their fire and it started smoldering again. And so that's something that we take really seriously. Do not leave your campsite, or don't go to bed at night without completely dousing your fire. So incredibly important. So before you go to bed at night, you're going to want to take out things like your headlamps, your books, your bear spray, your first aid kit, anything that you're going to need overnight, and take that out of your kit, and then hoist up your bear hang.
Bears. Beats. Battlestar Galactica. So we also get questions about what to do with bears in the park. The best advice that I can give is just avoid tempting the bears. Don't eat food in your tent because it will make it smell delicious. Don't leave food all around your campsite. Make sure to put your food away in a barrel or a pack that you're going to hoist up into a tree. Don't coat your toes in honey. And if you do encounter a bear in the park, luckily there are only black bears in Algonquin Park, and they tend to keep to themselves. We've never had a negative experience with a black bear, and we've only really seen one once. If you just make a whole lot of noise, make yourself look bigger than you actually are, the bear should just run in the other direction.
But whatever you do, don't run away from the bear. Always just sort of back away from the bear very calmly.
And if, for whatever reason, the bear does continue to approach you, you gotta fight it with everything you got. We actually bring along bear spray, which is like a pepper spray, but specifically for bears. We've never had to use it, but Chris does insist that we bring 2 every trip. Yeah, but really, bears aren't too scary in Algonquin.
Also, if you happen to be using this video as a general guide for canoe camping in other parts of the country, say out west where you might find much larger grizzly bears, the protocol for dealing with grizzly bears is much different in the sense that you typically don't want to fight back against the bear because it will see you as a perceived threat and then may just go at you like there's no tomorrow. So in those situations with a grizzly bear, which you might find out west, you want to protect your neck and essentially play dead on the ground so that it doesn't perceive you as a threat anymore and hopefully moves on. And if you happen to be camping way up north somewhere where there are actually polar bears, in those situations a polar bear may go to great lengths to stalk you or hunt you down. So if you do see a polar bear way off in the distance, do whatever you can to keep your distance from the polar bear. And in those situations, you should probably actually be carrying something like a shotgun, because polar bears can be ruthless and they are quite hungry. So yeah, keep your distance from polar bears. Keep your distance from any bears, really. And whatever you do, do not leave small children unattended because they are easy prey for animals like bears or wolves.
Don't say that. Camping is a great thing to do with your family, but your children are easy prey for the bears.
Yeah, just keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them.
We know that you normally let your kids run wild, but in the park, you actually want to know where they are.
Yeah. So after everything's done, just really take a moment to enjoy it, absorb what you're seeing and experiencing, and go out at night and look up at the stars. You will never see more stars at night than when you're in Algonquin Park. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and enjoy the sounds of the loons and the wilderness and become ensconced in it. And yeah, we also really like doing highs and lows at the end of the night too, where we talk about kind of the hardest part of our day and the best part of our day, and really helps to put things in perspective and lets you reflect on the day.
It's a really good way to be mindful of what your day's experience was like, and it's a nice way to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to summarize, you can have a great experience in the park with just a little bit of planning, and it's incredibly rewarding.
I'll always remember going down the wrong portage. Or that crazy rainy day. The time that we saw the bear. Those aren't exactly things that you would wish for, but those are some of our best memories in the park.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video.
Yeah. And don't forget to comment down below if you have your own tips, tricks, advice, ideas, thoughts, suggestions, anything else that you can think of that we didn't touch on and think might help the community. Feel free to leave it in the comments down below, and let's turn this into a wonderful resource for people to find all sorts of great information about Algonquin Park.
And camping!